Hello friends, in this video I'll discuss about some of the most important DBMS interview questions. These questions are generally asked in almost all of the service-based companies and in some of the product-based companies as well. So let's go ahead and discuss about the questions. So also I'd request you to check out Amigos app, which is a social network for students. So just go ahead and check out this. You'll find internships, events, scholarships, competitions, and placement mock tests also there. A lot of interview questions will also be present there. So let's see. What is database or DBMS? This is one of the first question that is asked. So what should you answer is something that I'll try to tell you. So DBMS stands for Database Management System. Okay, so DBMS is Database Management System and is used to store, remember these keywords, store, retrieve and update data in computer systems. So how will you explain this in very simple terms? You can just say that any application that you say, an Android app or web application or Facebook, any example you can take. So all that data has to be stored somewhere. So the software which is used to store that data is called database, right? Database management system. So this is the answer. So there are two types of databases. One is when falls under the category of RDBMS. So this is called relational database management system. What do you mean by relational? It means that the data is stored in the form of tables, okay, in the form of tables, and in these tables there will be multiple tables in this database system, right? And these tables have a relationship with each other, right? So this is relational, right? This is called relational. So this is why it is called relational database management system. Examples are MySQL, MS SQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, right? A lot of these RDBMS applications are there available, right? What is NoSQL? This is the new term that we have. And so NoSQL does not use these tables. That is why it is called NoSQL, right? These are non-relational databases, and examples are MongoDB, Cassandra, Neo4j. What is MongoDB? MongoDB is one of the most popular NoSQL database. Cassandra is also one of the most popular. It is also quite popular. It was developed by Facebook to manage its own social network. Neo4j is a different type of database which is called a graph database. So the data is stored in the form of nodes and edges. Relationships are stored in edges and nodes. So it will be like a social network kind of a thing. So let's say these are nodes, right? So this is let's say a person node. So you'll store name, age, all those things here, and then these are called relations. So these are relations between different nodes. So this is how data is stored in a graph database. In MongoDB, in case of NoSQL simple databases, data is stored in the format of JSON. Okay, JSON is something JavaScript object notation. It's called JavaScript object notification. Read about this. So let's go to the next question. I hope you understand everything. Feel free to drop in a comment below. So the next question is, write the SQL statement to create a table. So how will we do it? Right. So here is the answer. Remember, try to remember and understand how this works. So create table is the command. So create table is the command. Remember that this is the table name. So create table person. Right. Let's start with an example and with a diagrammatic with a diagram also. Right. So there is a table by the name of person. Right. The first line will create this table. Inside that, it will create the first field. The name is person ID. So there will be this person ID column here, okay, which is of integer type and not null. So it cannot store, it cannot be empty. So you have to provide a value here compulsorily. Then the next column is person name, okay. So there would be this person name, right? So person, I'll just write name here clearly, okay. So then there will be second column, which is person name. It can store up to 50 characters. Varchar is variable number of characters. So up to 50 characters can be stored in this column, and this is also a not null field. So it cannot contain empty value. Then there is the next field, which is called age. So then there is here next column, which is age. So this age is here. It is of type integer. So you can store a positive integer here. Right. Then we have primary key. What is a primary key? Primary key is a special field in this particular table, which is used to uniquely identify these tables. Okay, we'll go ahead and ask a few questions about this, answer a few questions about this also. later. But remember this line, primary key person ID. So we are making this person ID as the primary key of this table, which is going to be uniquely used to identify, right, this row. In the next question, we will discuss about what is a primary key and a unique key. So let's go to the next question. I hope you are understanding everything. Let's go to the next question. What is a foreign key? A foreign key is a key used to link two tables. Okay, so it is used to link two tables. How do you link the two tables? I'll explain to you here. So it is a field or collection of fields in one table that refers to the primary key of another table. Okay, so it refers to primary key of another table. Let's look at an example here. So let's say that there is a table called orders, right? It has order ID field, order number field, customer ID field. So what is this customer ID field? It means that this order was obviously placed by a customer, by any customer, right? So which customer ordered? Let's say that I went to a restaurant and placed an order. The restaurant owner knows that this order belongs to me. It belongs to Prajwal, right? Prajwal ordered it. So there is a relation between that order and me, right? This is how, this is the use of foreign key. So in this table, order ID is the primary key. But see, foreign key, customer ID. So there would be another customer table where there would be a customer ID field, and this foreign key, customer ID, right? This customer ID refers to it will refer to the person table's person ID, right? So what happens here is that foreign key, this customer ID is a foreign key which points to the person ID of the person table, right? So this is how the relation is done. So look at this diagram. This is the person table, this is the order table. So order table has a customer ID field. So example 3. So 3 is the customer ID which points to the primary key of person table. So here, this here is the what is it? It is the ID of this row, right? So Anoop's person ID is 3. So this 3 is stored here, which means that it is pointing to this order. This order number 1423 was placed by this person. Okay. So this is the relation, and this is how foreign key works. Let's go ahead and check out the next question. So difference between primary key and unique key. As I mentioned earlier, right, I clearly told you about what primary key is. We'll discuss what is the main difference between a primary key and a unique key. This is a very important question asked in a lot of interviews where they ask you to tell them the exact difference. So in this question, we'll answer that. Right. So only one primary key is allowed in a row. Right. There can be only one primary key in a row. So this is an important thing to remember. Unique key, there could be multiple unique keys in a row. Okay, understand this? This is again a very simple thing. It cannot accept null values. So primary key, if you make any field as a primary key, it will not be able to accept null values. But a unique key can accept one null value. What do you mean by one null value? It means that if there are 4 rows, only one row can have null value. Other rows must have some other value. Otherwise, by unique it means that if there are 10 rows, the values of all 10 rows cannot be same, right? No 2 rows will have the same value of this field, right? So that's why one null is allowed in one of those 10 rows but not in any other row. Creates a clustered index. What is a clustered index? It is very important to understand. Clustered index is when we create an index is used for fast searching. So you will create an index which modifies how the data is stored. So once you create a clustered index on a particular table, the data gets stored in a sequential way. So primary key, if the value is 1, 2, 3, 4, then the data will also be stored in the same sequence, right? So this is what clustered index is. Clustered index changes the way a data is stored. Okay, so this is primary key creates a clustered index. Unique key creates a non-clustered index, which means that row 1 can be stored in one particular location. This is row 1, right? Row 2 can be stored in 500 memory location, right? So all these things can happen, and the index will only store the address of these rows, right? It will not be able to change the location of the rows, right? This is how non-clustered index works. So unique key creates a non-clustered index. It's still searchable, but non-clustered index is generally slower than clustered index. Okay, here is an example. of primary key. So create table person, as we have already seen there, person ID and all those details are here. Primary key, person ID. So you have to specifically mention that person ID is the primary key. Okay, so this is the example of primary key. How do you create a unique key? Person ID, citizen ID. Okay, last name, first name and age, and unique of citizen ID. So citizen ID, let's say, assume that this is your Aadhaar card number. So every person will have a separate Aadhaar card number. No two person can have the same Aadhaar card. So this is taken as a unique key, okay, in this table. Person ID is again the sequence number 1, 2, 3, 4 or anything like that can be the person ID, and this is used as the primary key. So this is the primary key, right? You'll have to add this line here also. In that case, you can add primary key person ID. So this row, this field will become a primary key, and citizen ID will become a unique key. So let's go ahead and check out the next question. What is the difference between drop, delete and truncate? Again, this is very frequently asked in a lot of interviews, but it is very simple to understand. Delete, right? So what is the difference between delete, delete and truncate, right? So we'll start with delete. So delete is used to delete one or more rows of a table based on a condition, right? So delete from customers where customer name is equal to Robin Hood. If the customer name is Robin Hood, delete that row. So right, so it is used to delete specific rows in a table. What is drop? So drop command is used for two purpose. One is to use it is used to drop a table, right? So you can completely drop a table, or you can completely drop a database, delete a database itself. So here are two examples. Drop table logs. So this logs table will get deleted, and the schema is also removed, which means that there will be no sign of no residue of that table left in your database, right? So you'll have to create the schema again. You'll have to again execute create table, right? So you will have, if you drop a table, then you will have to again use create table to create the table structure and then insert data. And then drop database is logs db. So you can completely drop this database, and all the tables inside will also get deleted. Okay, removed. What is truncate? Truncate is very similar to it is like a crossover of delete and drop. So drop deletes the whole database including schema. Truncate, it only deletes all the rows inside that table. So if there is a table containing all the customer names and customer details, if you execute truncate on that table, all the data, all the rows will get deleted. Okay, it is used to clear the data inside the table. The table schema remains intact. So if you use truncate table logs, you will not have to execute create table command after that. So this is the difference between truncate, delete and drop. Remember, delete is used to delete only specific rows based on a condition. Truncate is used to clear all the rows of a table. And then drop is used to delete the table completely, or it is used to delete the database completely. Okay, I hope you are understanding everything. If you are not able to understand anything from here, feel free to drop in a comment, right? But I'm trying to explain these things with examples, so I hope you will understand everything. Next question is, what are the different types of languages available in DBMS? So the first thing, people get confused that what is languages? DBMS does not have any language. SQL is the only language, right? Structured query language, right? But SQL contains different types of commands, and those are called the languages in DBMS. Let's see in the next slide. There are 4 types of languages in SQL or in DBMS, right? Data DDL. DDL is, you might have heard about this earlier, right? So DDL is data definition language. What do you mean by definition? Definition means you are trying to create something, right? You are trying to define something. So consists of commands to define the database schema. So create, drop, alter and rename. So you are you are basically working on the table directly, right? You are creating a table, you are dropping a table, you are altering the table, you are renaming the table. So this DDL commands work on the table level. Okay. So data query language, DQL, right? Second is DQL. DQL is consists of commands to get the data from tables. So if you want to retrieve something from the tables, then DQLs or data query languages are used. Example is select. If you execute select star from customer table, then it will return all the rows and all the columns of that table. So this is how This is the meaning of data query language. You are trying to query or retrieve data from a table. Data manipulation language, DML, right? So data manipulation, what do you mean by manipulation? You are changing something, right? So you are changing the data. So commands used to edit or manipulate data inside the database, right? Inside the table. So insert, update and delete, these are three different commands. Insert is used to insert a row in a table. Update is used to change the value in a specific table, in a specific row. And delete is used to delete a particular row, right? So this executes at the row level, right? So I told you this executes at the table level, the data definition language. This is used to retrieve data from table again, right? It is from the table level based on condition, all those things are written. Insert, update, delete works on row level. So you can manipulate specific rows. Then what is data control language, DCL? Data control is about rights and permissions on the database and tables. So a database will consist of multiple tables, right? It can have multiple users also. So through DCL, grant and revoke are some of the commands, right? So through grant or revoke, you can give or revoke permissions from a particular user. So you can allow a specific user to be able to alter a table, right? But you can also revoke that, right? You can give access, you can revoke access. So this is about giving permissions to specific tables and databases, right? So a user, there will be a user, right, inside SQL. So whether a user is allowed to alter this table or not, or access this table or not, is controlled by data control languages. How do you remember these? It is DQML. DQML is the shortcut. Remember this word. Data, this is for definition, this is for query, this is M for manipulation, L for DQMC, right? Not DQML. So DQMC. So what is the shortcut to remember this? It is DQMC, right? So here it is D, Q, M and C, right? Data, this for definition, Q for query, M for manipulation, C for control. This is a shortcut to remember. Make sure that you remember this specific small shortcut. Let's look at the next question. It is difference between union and union all. What is the difference between union and union all? Let's see. The SQL union clause / operator, right, is used to combine the results of two or more select statements without returning any duplicate values, right? So let's say that there are two rows in the first select, which is returned by the first select query, and there are another two rows which is returned by the next SQL statement. When you do a union, it will return A, B and C. It will, without, it skips the, see, A was present here also, but in the result it is only one time, right? It is not A, B, C. So this happens in case of union. It removes the duplicate rows. Example is here. I'll show it to you in the next screen also in detail. Union all on the same return data will be A and B is if it is the result of one SQL statement, and A and C is the result of the second SQL select query. Then the result will be AABC. It contains the duplicate rows. So the union all operator is used to combine the results of two select statements, including the duplicate rows. Okay, so I hope you understood this. Okay, let's see with an example. So there is a table called person. We are trying to do a union between the same table, right? So select star from person, select star from person. This will also return all the rows of this person table, and this will also return all the rows of the person table. So the moment you do select a union on these two select statements, the output will be same only once, right? So all these four rows are returned only once. This is in case of union because there are no duplicates. But what will happen if you write union all here? This is the question. What if we write union all? See this. So if we do a union all of the same table with itself, then it will duplicate the value. See, 1 is also present here, it is also present here. So Elon Musk is present 2 times. Bill Gates is also present 2 times. Steve Jobs is also present 2 times. Satya Nadella is also present 2 times. Which means that all these 4 rows get repeated, right? Which means that the duplicate rows are not removed. In just union, only once. All these 4 rows will be returned only once. So I hope you understand, right? It contains duplicate rows. Union all. Remember, all means it will return you duplicate rows also. What are ACID properties in DBMS? This is the next question. Atomicity. Entire transaction takes place at once or does not happen at all. Right? A for atomicity. ACID. ACID is atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. What is atomicity? Right? It means that either the whole transaction will happen completely or nothing will happen at all. We'll go through an example first. Okay. And then we'll explain everything. So let's say there is a table where user A has 15,000 rupee in his account and user B has 5,000 rupees in his account, right? Now you are trying to transfer 5,000 rupee from A to B. So A is trying to transfer 5,000 rupees from A to A is trying to transfer 5,000 rupees to B, right? So how will this work? So first 5,000 rupees will get deducted from this 15,000 and then 5,000 rupee will get added, right? It will be done in two steps obviously. So A is equal to A minus 5,000 is equal to 10,000, right? The next value will become the value of A, the money with A will become 10,000 and B is equal to B plus 5,000, which is value of the money with B becomes 10,000 also. But see, there are two steps here, step 1 and this is step 2. So the question is, what will happen if only step 1 is executed and the system crashes? What will happen? What will happen is that this is a transaction, which means that if only step 1 is executed and anything happens before step 2, the database state returns back or rolls back to the previous stage. So this transaction will not be able to complete and hence only the previous value get returned, right? So this is the value that will stay. But if there is no problem, then statement 1 will get executed, then statement 2 will also get executed, then this is the next state. So this is state 1, right? This is the initial state, which is state 1, and this is the state 2 of the database, right? There are two states. This is before execution, this is before the transaction, right? And this is after the transaction. So that is why state 1 is state 2. So this is the meaning of atomicity. Either the transaction will happen completely or it will not happen at all. If anything happens in between the transaction, the database state will return to the previous state. So what is consistency? The database must be consistent before and after the transaction. How will you understand this? See, let me clear the screen first. Okay. Yeah. So see here, what is the total amount of money here? 15,000 plus 5,000, which is 20,000. What is the money in those accounts in the whole, with A and B total? Here, it is again 20,000. Right, 10,000 plus 10,000, which means that before and after the total money is not changing, the total amount is not changing, it is consistent, right? No new money is getting added, no money is getting lost in between also. So before and after state is always consistent. If initially it had 20,000 in total, after the transaction also the total money is 20,000, right? But the values between rows can change, right? So this is consistency. What is isolation? So isolation is a very interesting concept. Multiple transactions happen independently without interfering with one another. What is isolation? Let's say there are two transactions, right? In transaction 1, you are trying to transfer 5,000 rupees from A to B. In transaction 2, you are trying to transfer 20,000, let's say 15,000 rupees from A to C, right? There is another entry, let's say. What will happen is, these two transactions are independent. So if T1 started before, right? So after this transaction, the value is 10,000, right? So in between, it cannot happen that before, once this transaction is started, see, this T2 transaction will have to stay on hold and it cannot execute between this time, because the T2 knows that T1 is currently working on the values of table A, on the values of this row. So it cannot execute at this point of time, which means that it is isolated. So only after T2 finishes, then T2 will execute, right? There is a concept called read and write locks also in database. In this case, there will be a read and write lock here on this row and this row, both the rows, right? Because we are manipulating the values of these two values. So what will happen is, it might happen that T1 has 5,000, right? Currently it has 15,000. Right, but after the transaction, the value becomes 10,000, right? But if T2 reads this value, it will see that, okay, this user has 15,000, so it will try to transfer but in between that T1 will get executed, and then T2 will not be able to transfer because A did not have 15,000. The value, money with A becomes 10,000, right? So there would be inconsistency if we allow both T1 and T2 to run simultaneously. That is why these two transactions happen, in isolation. Right? In the intermediate state of a transaction is invisible to other transactions. Right? I hope you understand everything, right? Durability. Once a transaction has happened, the changes stay there even if a system failure occurs. So, which means that after this transaction has happened, and now if there is a system crash here, right, after executing this, when you reboot the system, when you restart the system, you will find this value there, right? This state will not get lost. So this is called durability. This is an essential property of database. If this is not there, then there will be a lot of problems in case of banks and all the applications online. There will be a lot of problems if this is not there. So let's go ahead and check out the next question. What are the different types of relationships in the DBMS? Different types of, this is the last question in this particular video. We'll go with other questions in the next video. So what are the different types of relationships? One-to-one. There is one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. There are three types of relations in a DBMS. What is one-to-one? One order can belong to only one customer. So let's say that you place an order. The order ID is, let's say, 124, right? So it belongs to you only, right? It cannot, this same order ID, when you go and try to pick up your order, two persons cannot have the same order ID. Then there will be a lot of, chaos there. That is why one person can only have one customer can have only one order, right? So this is one-to-one relationship. But what is an example of one-to-many relationship? One company can have many employees. So there could be 50, 500 employees working in the same company. So there is an employee table, right? And there is a company table, right? So there could be multiple employees also, right? There could be multiple rows in here, and all of them could be working for the same company. So this is called one-to-many relationship. What is many-to-many? Again, very interesting. One person can work on many projects. So if there is this employee working in a company, right? And then each project, let's say there is a project, so it can have E1, E2 and E3, right? This is P1, let's say. Then P2, there could be another project which also has E1, right? And E4 and E6, right? So E1 is working in P1 also, and he is working in P2 also. Similarly, right? So one person is working on many projects, and each project can have many persons. So there are three people working in the same project, right? So this is one-to-many. So many employees are working in one project, and one employee is also working in many projects. So employee is also working on many projects. So this is why it is many-to-many. I hope you understand this. Let's see what happens next. So in the upcoming videos, right, I'll be uploading some more videos also where I'll explain all the different types of joins: inner join, left join, right join, and outer join. I'll explain all the four. Then we'll also try to discuss in another video. These are small questions. So what is a trigger? What is a stored procedure? What is normalization? What is 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, and BCNF? What are these? What is the meaning of these? We'll also be discussed in the upcoming videos. What are ER models? What is entity type, and entity set in DBMS? These are again a little advanced questions for DBMS. So we'll discuss this in a separate video also. So subscribe to the channel, and we'll be discussing more questions in the upcoming videos. Also, check out the Amigos social network app. There are a lot of quizzes happening on the app every day. So try to participate in them. It will help you prepare for placements also, because we have a lot of questions for placements and aptitude also happening there, as well as GK and technical questions happening. So all the best. If you have any queries, feel free to drop in a comment, and let's see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. All the best.